Can the Indiana Hoosiers win the battle for Atlantis? It starts today with the Louisville Cardinals.
You are Locked On Hoosiers, your daily podcast on the Indiana Hoosiers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome in. It is the Locked On Hoosiers podcast. I'm your man, Jacob Goins. I appreciate you being here, making this your first listen or your first watch every single day. We are part of the Locked On Podcast Network, which is your team every day. Today's episode of Locked On Hoosiers is brought to you by FanDuel. You could start the season with a big return on FanDuel. New customers can place a $5 bet, and you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Well, thank you so much for being here. Truly, really does mean a lot to me that you guys continue to show up, continue to support Locked On Hoosiers, whether you're on audio and whether you're on video. And it feels like it's been a while, and we've had a game or two squeezed in here, but football's been such a big story. Basketball season's still happening. We got so much we need to get to on the show today. We do have college football playoff reactions later on in the show. Plus, we're going to predict the battle for Atlantis. And the main question is, can Indiana win it? Can Indiana win the battle for Atlantis? There's big name teams, big name programs, and I think some pretty good programs in this tournament. And I'm excited for us to get in on some of this action that's been going on around college football, or around college basketball, rather. Here are the teams that are involved in this battle for Atlantis: Louisville, Indiana, West Virginia, Gonzaga, Oklahoma, Providence, Davidson, and Arizona. Those are the teams that are competing in the battle for Atlantis. Now, that's an Arizona team that got beat by Duke already. That's a Gonzaga team that, they've played a couple of high schools so far. And then teams like Louisville and West Virginia and Oklahoma, they're the big names and the big brands, but we just don't know how good they're going to be just yet. And Indiana's kind of in that same boat, right? Our win over South Carolina's not looking so hot since they lost again the other day. And so this is the first real test for us this year for the Indiana Hoosiers. And we knew it was going to be this way. Right, we tried to hype up the South Carolina game, and I hope that win does become something by the end of the year. Maybe the Gamecocks can figure it out in the SEC, but this is really going to be our one true big test before Big Ten play begins, because we know what it looks like after this. It's not very good in terms of a non-conference schedule. So, look, playing Louisville in the first round is really, really cool. You're talking two historically big names, big programs, big logos in college basketball. And I think it's fair to say that Louisville has struggled mightily here in the last handful of years, and they're looking to get back to normal. And they would love to do that with a win over Indiana in round one in the battle for Atlantis. And I don't want us to look too far ahead, but you do have some potential matchups with Gonzaga, which would be in the next round. You could play Arizona in a championship game. I mean, there's a lot to look at here in terms of how you could get tested if you're Indiana. And look, I don't think that there's a bad team in this thing. I really, really don't. Even since we don't know, it's early in the season, what some of these teams are, I don't think we're going to play a bad team. And I don't think there's a game where we just run away and don't get tested and don't learn anything at all, which is good. That's why you play these games. That's why you play in these tournaments, is to learn who you are, hopefully show some of your weaknesses and learn some of your strengths. And that's going to happen against Louisville. I'm just telling you right now, this team likes to run, they like to shoot, and they spread out their offense, which means they extend opponents' defenses. This team will shoot it 30 to 35 times from the outside. And we've seen in the past how Indiana has struggled to defend that. Last year was a big-time problem with defending the three, right? But a lot of that is from their guards this year for Louisville. And I think Indiana's guards are much, much better this season than they were a year ago. Myles Rice is going to have a good game here, okay? Myles Rice has to have a really good game. And I think it has to happen on the defensive end of the floor because you have a couple of guys for the Cards that are going to score a lot. Rain Smith, who comes off the bench, by the way, their leading scorer with nearly 15 a game, and Terrence Edwards. That's the other guy you need to look out for. Pryor down low, he averages 12, 13. It's 13 points a game. I just don't know if he's going to be able to bang around with Ballo and Malik Reneau. I just don't know if he's got that in the tank. Maybe he does, and maybe I'll have to eat my words on that. But from what I've seen, I just don't think so. So I like our chances with Ballo and with Reneau down low, and they're going to hammer the paint time and time again offensively. And on the defensive side, they'll be brought outside a little bit. We just have to be able to defend the three, communicate on screens, and grab defensive rebounds. We cannot allow Louisville to get second, third, fourth opportunities on a possession because they're not a good shooting team. Just look at the stats. It's not that great, but they're not scared to shoot it. So if they miss 2 or 3 times, guess what? They're going to shoot it again. They don't care. And here's another classic example of a game that Indiana basketball is involved in, where if you play like you're supposed to play, you're going to beat this team. I think you are 7 to 10 points better than this team right now before you step on the floor. You're a top 15 team in college basketball. This is your first real chance to prove that with everybody watching at noon on a Wednesday afternoon, the day before Thanksgiving, right? People at the office are going to have it on. People will be listening to this in their car. They're going to have this game tuned in somewhere where they can watch it and listen to it and figure out what's going on with the 14th ranked team in the country, the Indiana Hoosiers. So what can you learn from this? What can you take away from this? That's what I'm looking for in this game against Louisville, because the bigger question is, can we win? Can we win the battle for Atlantis? And I absolutely think we can. I told you this over the summer. I think we can win this tournament. And I still believe that to be the case, even with Arizona and Gonzaga and Louisville and West Virginia and Oklahoma and Providence and Davidson. Like, I don't care. I think we're good enough to do it. And I want us to see some of those big name teams. I don't want to avoid Gonzaga. I don't want to avoid Arizona. Give us those teams because I think we still need it, especially early in this season. We need to see a team that might just be better than us for us to get better and work on ourselves. Can we win it? And my predictions for the battle for Atlantis. I want to hear yours. Comment those down below if you're on YouTube. Tell me if you think Indiana can or will. And tell me what your full predictions are. That's what I'm doing right here next on Locked On Hoosiers. Today's episode of Locked On Hoosiers is brought to you by FanDuel. Get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Because right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. Not just the NFL, though. College football, college basketball. Feast week is a perfect time to be involved on FanDuel. There's games going on all the time. There's games literally as you watch this. There's a good chance there's a college basketball game that's happening right now. So you may as well be on FanDuel, where you can check stats, play-by-play, and so much more right on the same page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Welcome back into Locked On Hoosiers. Thank you so much for being here. Shout out to all of my audio listeners. Shout out to all my video watchers. Whether you're on Spotify, Apple, Amazon, however you get the audio version of this podcast, thank you so much. And to those of you that listen on, or I guess watch or listen on the video side on YouTube, thank you so much as well. Be sure you have your notifications turned on. If you're on YouTube, be sure you like the video, comment down below. Please subscribe to the channel as well. That's a huge part in helping us grow here at Locked On Hoosiers, and really appreciate you all doing that. Audio listeners, follow us, turn on those notifications as well. Wouldn't want you to miss any episodes of this free daily podcast of Locked On Hoosiers. Well, the battle for Atlantis is going to be fun. I can't promise that it's going to be the same as what we've seen in Vegas or what's going on in Maui. I mean, those tournaments have gone kind of wild. I mean, they're pretty wacky right now, and they've been awesome to watch, which is why I've been itching to get this one going. I'm like, man, this is great, but can we get some Indiana basketball, please, back in our lives? And excited to have it here with the game against Louisville and however many games whoever that we get to play. And I'm glad that I had that slip up because that's important to note here. Every team in Atlantis gets 3 guaranteed games. You can go 3-0, 0-3, 2-1, 1-2, doesn't matter. You get 3 games guaranteed in this tournament. So that's a good thing. That's a good thing because you are able to learn. You're able to adapt. You're playing back-to-back-to-back days just like your old AAU days, right? These guys loved playing in those atmospheres. Maybe not all the time, but it's at least a flashback for them to go back and play in that style of a tournament where, man, all right, you may be tired from today, got another one tomorrow, and then guess what? You got another one the next day too, right? So it's exciting for these guys to get back into that sort of a mindset. And I want to make some predictions on this tournament because I've told you I think Indiana can win this thing. But do I think they will? Do I think Indiana will win the battle for Atlantis? Now, just depends on when you're listening to this and when you're watching this. It's out the day of the first games, and so it may go out of date quickly, or it could be alive and hang around if I'm actually right. But here's my thoughts on this. First of all, Indiana plays in the opening game. We play Louisville right out of the gates to get the battle for Atlanta started. I think we win. I think we run away with it. I think Indiana beats Louisville in the opener, right? That will put us to the right side of the bracket. Teams are going straight down the middle. I'm taking Indiana to beat Louisville. I'm also going to take Gonzaga to beat West Virginia. No hate against West Virginia, but it ain't happening. Gonzaga's going to take them down. Here's a sneaky one. Oklahoma and Providence, right? This is something where you look at it and you're like, I don't know, Oklahoma because they're the bigger name, right? The bigger team, the bigger game. Don't be fooled here, though. Don't be fooled. This could end up being a really, really sneaky good game. Gonzaga, West Virginia plays after we do, and then you've got some games coming up in the night slot as well. You're talking 2 teams that are undefeated right now. Oklahoma 4-0, Providence 5-0. Give me Providence. Give me Providence to beat Oklahoma. Why? I have no idea. Because I want to. Sounds fun. Give me Providence to win that one. Give me Arizona to beat Davidson. Loser side of the bracket, I'll take Louisville to beat West Virginia. I'll take Oklahoma to beat Davidson. Not going to go super, super deep into all that stuff, though. On the winner's side, all right, Indiana and Gonzaga, and then Providence and Arizona. We'll start with Providence, Arizona. I think Providence can run with the Cats. I do. I think Arizona has some weaknesses. You saw that in their previous loss. I think they're a good team. And I do think Arizona wins here. I do. I think Arizona's going to win this game against Providence, but they're going to have to fight for it. So give me Arizona, and then Indiana and Gonzaga. As of right now, okay? Again, this was recorded before any games were played. Their performance against Louisville could change this, or they may lose against Louisville, and all this is kind of null and void anyway. Oh, as bad as I want to say Indiana wins this game, I'm just not ready to go there yet. I'm not ready to go there yet with this Indiana squad just because I haven't seen it, right? We haven't seen them against a team like this. Do I think Gonzaga is as good as they have been in the past? No, I don't. And do I think that the schedule they play is a joke most of the time? Yeah, I do. But they're really talented and they're really well coached. And I think this week is such a big moment for Mike Woodson and for Woody, for his team, for his future, for a lot of you, the fan base, right? I think this is a huge opportunity for him to earn your trust back, gain your trust even, or just avoid you from wanting to shove him off a cliff. I mean, this is an opportunity for him to go up against some really good coaches that are going to give him everything they've got, and he's got to be able to do the same. If he does, Indiana will be in a good spot, and Indiana can beat Louisville, compete with Gonzaga, and try to go win the championship in the battle for Atlantis. But until I see us play, and hopefully they give me a little bit more confidence, I'm not sold on what we saw in our previous game, right? We look sloppy, we look lazy. Mike Woodson said so himself. Until I see us play against Louisville, I'm not ready to pull the trigger on us beating Gonzaga. So I'll take the Zags for now with an asterisk. I'll come back to that, right? That would put Gonzaga and Arizona in the battle for Atlantis. It's the matchup they all want because they just hate on Indiana. I would take Gonzaga to win that, but I would also take Indiana to then beat Providence in the third and fourth place game, which I think could end up being a pretty good one, right? And so that's what you have to remember here is no matter if you win, lose, whatever the case may be, you're going to play 3 games and play some pretty good ones. But in these tournaments, I just think it's vital to win your first game because then you're on the winner side of the bracket and you are supposed to be playing the better half of the teams that are in the field. Not saying you can't play some good teams on the loser side, but this one is not as stacked as Maui is, where you had Iowa State, the 5th ranked team in the country, lose to Auburn. And so then you had the Cyclones on the loser side of the bracket. Like, what are we doing, right? It's crazy to see. UConn is on the loser side of that bracket, and they went 0-2 so far as of this recording, losing to Memphis and Colorado. Like, that's a different beast, where if you lose your first game, you're still going to see somebody really good. I fear that for this battle for Atlanta. So that's why you got to win that first one. I think Indiana does beat Louisville, though. I really do. I think we take care of business against the Cards. Then we've got Gonzaga more than likely. If you get West Virginia, you get West Virginia. Go out there and handle business and tip your cap to them for beating the Zags. But I just don't see that happening. And then you never know, man. You never know. It's November basketball, and we're going to be tested at all facets of the game. And I hope we get it, because Indiana really, really needs it right now. All right, coming up in our final segment on Locked On Hoosiers, we had playoff rankings last night. They don't reflect the bracket, and the bracket doesn't reflect the rankings, and there's tiebreakers, and there's movement, and there's percentages and predictions, and it just hurts to think about it and try to break it all down. I'll do my best, though, on the other side right here on Locked On Hoosiers. Final segment here on Locked On Hoosiers. Again, appreciate you being here, making this your first listen or your first watch every single day. And look, for those of you that are my everydayers, you know this. I appreciate you. I'm so thankful for you. Even in this thankful time of year, right, with the holidays coming up and things. I just want to make sure you all know just how thankful I am for you and your support on audio, video, social media, whatever the case may be, and however you support this show. Thank you so much for being here. We're having a ton of fun, right? With football, basketball, you name it. And we got it. And speaking of football, need to react to what happened in the college football playoff last night in the rankings release, that is. And look, we knew Indiana was going to fall, right? We knew we were going to drop a little bit. We knew it was going to be a plummet, I guess, but we didn't know how far they would drop us, right? We didn't know how far we would go. We were at number 5. You lose to Ohio State. And I thought we should still be a college football playoff team. I did. I thought we should still be in the rankings. I thought we should still be in the running. And we are ranked at the 10th seed, right? We're ranked at the 10th spot. But as they have to do every single week, right, as they do every single time, you would think this would be a, telling tale of how the system is kind of broken here, where you have to explain what the rankings mean and why it may not directly reflect what the bracket shows, or I guess vice versa, right? The bracket doesn't directly reflect what the rankings are because of the conference champions, automatic bids, things like that. So as we look at it, I've got the bracket pulled up right here. We are the 10th ranked team in the country. When you see us on TV this Saturday, or you see us in an article, we will be ranked number 10. But we're actually the 11th seed going on the road to Happy Valley playing Penn State. And I just want to say this. I love it. Give us Penn State. Give us Happy Valley. We need something to, I don't know, get back to, right? We need something to make up for the Ohio State performance. And I've told you how I feel about Penn State. I'm not convinced. I'm not sold. I think they're getting way too much love for just not a whole lot of success this season. So give me Penn State and Happy Valley absolutely as the 10th ranked team in the country. We would be the 11th seed playing at the 6th seed, the Penn State Nittany Lions, right? 1 seed is Oregon, 2 seed Texas, 3 seed Miami, 4 seed Boise State. You'd have Arizona as the 12 going to Ohio State, and Columbus, Tennessee going to Georgia, Indiana going to Penn State, SMU going to Notre Dame. I'm kind of surprised that they're not trying to avoid big time conference games, whether they're rematches or not, especially early. Like, it's going to be hard at times. I get that, but I don't know. I just figured they would try to avoid that. I mean, Tennessee, Georgia is a huge game. Indiana, Penn State is a huge game. Like, you're talking 2 of the best in the SEC versus 2 of the best in the Big Ten. Like, that's legit. I guess 2 of the best in the SEC against each other and 2 of the best in the Big Ten against each other. Like, that's some serious business. And so, look, all things considered, right? All things considered, we are still in the playoff. This tells us everything we need to know. This tells us if you beat Purdue, you are in. Talking about us in Indiana. If we beat Purdue, we are in. Because I don't think there's enough chaos that can happen in front, behind, around, whatever, for us to drop completely out, right? Because let's be real. If Oregon loses, doesn't matter. If Ohio State loses, doesn't really matter, right? I think they're still both going to be okay, right? Penn State could win against Maryland. They could get to a Big Ten championship game. Like, there's all sorts of crazy math here, but I'm just saying Tennessee could lose, but we would move up. Georgia could lose, but we would move up. Notre Dame could lose, but we would move up. I don't see anything happening below us to where we would get jumped and left out in the cold. Now we're flirting with it. And we absolutely could talk about South Carolina. You could talk about Clemson, right? 2 teams that are currently on the outside looking in, but could gain a big time win this weekend as a top 15 matchup. And Indiana doesn't have one of those. So that is a little scary. There ain't no doubt. That's very, very scary. Plus conference championship games and things like that. So there's a lot here to break down. And we're going to do this more as the weekend, we get closer to the weekend and into next week's playoff rankings, right? With the holiday coming up. But here's what we know. As of right now, yes, we got punished for a loss, as you should, but we're still alive in the college football playoff. And I can't believe it, but I think we might be okay. If we beat Purdue, we might just be okay. If there's not just complete chaos behind us, which there very well could be. But I like what I see here. I like what I'm seeing and hearing so far. If we take care of business, we should be okay. Is that going to be the case? I don't know, because you still have teams like Alabama who are on the outside looking in. Again, if Notre Dame loses, they're still going to find a way for them to be in against USC, even though that game is this week, right? You just have all these different scenarios where Indiana could be given the short end of the stick. But from what they've told us, we're okay for now, but we got to handle business against Purdue coming up this weekend. All right, that's going to do it for today's episode of Locked On Hoosiers. Thank you so much again for being here. Really do appreciate it. All right, really enjoying our coverage here and looking forward to what the rest of the week holds, okay? We will have something coming up for you tomorrow. Not sure quite what it's going to be yet, so you got to kind of come back and check that out. But something special for you on a Thanksgiving, okay? Be sure you are subscribed. You've got notifications turned on wherever you get this podcast, audio, video, however you do it. I appreciate you being here. If I don't see you, if you don't see me between now and after the holiday, happy Thanksgiving. All right, Hoosier fans, thank you so much for being here. We'll have something for you tomorrow, so be on the lookout for that. So until then, stay safe, and I'll talk to you later.